Coming to you live from the White Picket Studios in Houston, Texas, this is the Realty Ruckus. If you are in any way, shape, or form involved in the real estate industry, this is the show for you. And now, your host, Alan Hernandez.
All right. We are so excited to be here today. Are my voice levels too high? Okay, I can hear myself really well right now. Guys, thank you for joining us today on Realty Ruckus. We are extremely excited. We have a phenomenal show planned out for you. Don't forget that you can leave all of your comments by texting us below, either on YouTube or on Facebook, or by tweeting us. Did I get that one right this time?
Yeah, you got it.
By tweeting us at Realty Ruckus. I usually say by Twittering us. These guys yell at me.
You can't twat it either.
You can twat us at Realty Ruckus. All right, this time I got it right. All right, so we just came back from a phenomenal fishing trip. And we were celebrating BB's birthday. I don't know if you guys knew this, but BB turned 21 this week.
Oh, she's legal. She's legal.
Finally.
Legal and ready to mingle.
He's been drinking since 15 or whatever, but he's finally 21, you guys, and he's ready to have a good time this week. I think we're going to be celebrating the whole rest of the month. Am I right? Are we shooting for one of those birthdays?
Yeah, till the end of August at least.
To the end of August, maybe a part of October.
Don't drink and drive, baby.
Anyway, yeah. So we went out and did a little fishing trip. I don't know if you guys caught it. So we thought we were going to go out and catch all these fish, right? I was ready to have like this amazing fish fry. I had it all planned out. We were going to come back and we were going to, get these fish filleted, and we were going to make some in like different ways. Some were going to be done with onions and garlic, and some of them.
Yeah, you were like bubblegum. You're like, yeah, we're going to make some fish scampi, coconut fish,
fried fish. Man, I had it all set up in my head, and then we go out there. And we finally get out. First of all, we're about what, 10 miles out, and I start getting seasick.
Oh no!
I mean, the most horrible seasickness I've ever had.
Yeah, I looked over at Alan, and I just could tell that he wasn't having as good of a time as everyone else.
Everyone was so happy. Everyone had a beer in their hand. It was like, yeah, we're on the boat. And I'm sitting in the back of the boat, and I'm like, ah.
Yeah, you looked miserable.
It was horrible, man. I don't understand where that came from, because I actually took two of those Dramamine pills before I got on the boat. And it says on the bottle, hey, take it, a half hour before the activity.
Yeah.
So I followed instructions to the T. I should have popped 4. It said 2. I should have done 4.
Yeah, it says don't take more than 4 in a 24-hour period.
Well, 4 worked because I took those 2, and then everybody had their own way of fixing it, right?
So yeah, that was the funniest part. I love that part.
So every single person on the boat was like, well, look, if you come over here and you jump over this broom 3 times, then it'll totally go away.
Did you try it?
I tried every single one.
He really did.
I jumped over the broom. I went under the ladder. I did everything. Every single trick in the book. And like after an hour, it finally
felt better.
It totally went away.
Yeah.
So I think all of those things combined actually worked. And we had a phenomenal time. Once we got out there, we were reeling in a bunch of fish, but they were all red snapper.
Beautiful red snapper.
Beautiful, nice big ones.
Like 18 inches long, big red snappers.
But then the captain was like, well, these are out of season, so you can't keep them.
No way.
Yeah, man, and it sunk because if we could have kept those fish, I think we could have brought back at least a good 30 fish. I mean, all of us caught at least probably a minimum of 5 to 6 real good fish.
Yeah.
You could literally drop your line and then 2 minutes.
It was
later,
it was flooded with red snapper everywhere.
This was the first time that I've been deep sea fishing and have seen this many fish. Not only that, we had dolphins.
We had a family of dolphins following us
around the whole time.
Really? Yeah. We'd move. We'd go like a mile away, and then here would come the dolphins like right behind us. And the captain kept saying, well, that's why we're not getting any of the bigger fish.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the dolphins are scaring them off. And He was like, all of our fish, all those red snapper you guys keep releasing are just dolphin food.
Yeah, it was funny. We had to release them. We couldn't keep them, so we throw them back, and the dolphins would just shoot on over there and grab them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was free food for
dolphins.
those guys, but we couldn't even eat one, man. I was so upset about that.
Raising Cane's, right?
So funny because I went to dinner last night, and one of the things on the menu was snapper, and Alex was like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna get the snapper." I was like,
No.
You dare not get the snapper. I had about 8 of those yesterday.
We would not eat snapper for a long time. And we came back from the fishing trip, and since we couldn't eat any of the ones we caught or keep any of them, period, we just pigged out on some fish. We went to a nice place.
Yeah, we went to a restaurant and just picked out on the
just
fish.
bought as much fish as we could and just pigged out, and it was awesome, man. So we've had a great week. We're going to end this week phenomenally, and when we come back, we want to talk to you guys a little bit about some legal issues we've had. We're going to talk to you about a little bit about Houston being the worst at something. I know we're always talking about how it's the best at something. We're going to tell you what it's the worst at when we get back.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com. Stop searching and start staying in the know with our Houston Real Estate Events page on Facebook. Follow us by searching at Houston Real Estate Events to stay up to date on the latest events for real estate in the Houston area. If you're interested in having your event on our page, please email me at david@whitepicketrealty.com. Again, that's david@whitepicketrealty.com. Non-paid events only. One more time, find us on Facebook at Houston Real Estate Events, and we'll see y'all at the next one. Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service and an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. David, what can we expect for the weather for this weekend?
Well, guys, we got isolated thunderstorms today with a high of 85 and a low tonight of 75. Through the weekend, it's going to be about the same, high in the mid-80s and lows in the mid-75s, with the chances of rain picking up in the weekend.
Well, did you say 75s?
Yeah, it's cooling down.
Oh, man,
Football
that
is
sounds
back.
amazing.
And
So
actually,
excited.
college football, it's kind of weird. College football actually starts tonight.
Does it?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
I think there's a game, being played at 9 tonight in Hawaii or...
Oh, I heard about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's somewhere...
Are you guys serious?
Yeah.
I
So,
feel like you guys are making something up.
no,
right now.
football's officially back. I didn't even know. I'm kind of ashamed of myself.
Well, who's playing in Hawaii? Who gets that honor?
Yeah.
Let me check
No
it out.
joke. We need to know that for sure. I'm so ready for this season.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were doing some research as always.
Yeah.
As always,
We did a little research.
We did a little research, right? And we always talk. Everyone's always talking about like Houston's the best. Houston, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When I was hanging out with my fraternity brothers last week, we were at this little event. All I talked about was how awesome Houston was, right? Because when you're from Texas, you're raised that way. Like you're proud to be from Texas. When you live in
Yeah,
Texas,
absolutely.
When you live in Texas, you're always so proud of Texas and how everything's bigger in Texas, and and that could include our bellies, but we don't care about that, right?
We're good.
We're just so happy about
When
being
Houston was the fattest, we were the best fattest
Yes,
city.
that's
okay?
true. That's true.
Some bellies are bigger than other bellies. All I'm saying.
We own that title. So we're doing some research, and for once we find one thing that we are the absolute worst at. Can you guys take a wild guess what we're the worst at? Any ideas?
Well, we'll let Ashley take the wild guess since we already know.
Driving?
We are horrible.
Yeah, actually, that did come out. We are pretty horrible at that too.
That was in one of the articles that we suck at driving. That was true.
That's very true. You know,
That's not the one though that we're bad at.
there is absolutely no patience with the drivers in Houston.
No, I mean we're borderline Latin America.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I'm amazed that people don't just create like a fourth lane where there's only 3 lanes here because it's pretty bad.
That only happens in third world countries. Have you noticed that when you travel?
Yeah.
That's the one thing you will get ticketed for is driving that 4th lane. I know personally.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy.
You are that guy.
He's like, hey, why is no one driving on their shoulder?
It doesn't make sense. There's so much room. All right. I'll tell y'all exactly what it is. The one thing that we've hit the bottom of the list for.
Rock bottom?
Rock bottom.
Oh, man.
All right. Worst city for renters who want to own.
Nice.
Wow, man, that's so surprising
It
because
is so strange.
yeah, everyone talks about how affordable Houston is.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you can go to Houston and get so much house for your money. You really can.
You can, yeah.
Like what 500 grand buys you up north will buy you a mansion down here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Without a doubt.
So what are they saying? What's the idea behind all of that?
Well, you know, they go out and they tally up all the people and they figure out how many people own houses, how many people rent houses. Now we're still over 50% in terms of home ownership, which is really good. We're actually like right at the 59% mark. But what they're saying is that when it comes to someone going from renting to actually owning, it's almost nearly impossible.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that article that you sent me, and it says that even though the median home price is only $172,900, which is really, really low, the national average is close to $300. Only 6.8% of people that are renting have either the income, have both the income and the credit score necessary to be able to buy.
That's right.
So you're talking about 93% of people that are renting couldn't qualify even if they wanted to. That's really startling. I thought that Houston would have a much higher rate of conversion of renters to homeowners.
I would too, man. And I actually, you know, when I read this, I feel kind of bad because I always harp on like, you know, when we have like open houses or when I talk to like our real estate team, I'm always like, hey, you know, if you see a renter or if you're going to take a rental client, you better make sure you convert them into a homeowner.
That's true. Yeah,
like,
we do.
I'm
push that
I'm
all the
always
time.
pushing that. And I read this and I'm like, well, crap, they gotta do 100 to get 6.
Right.
You know? Like, it's crazy. It's
93%
crazy
fail ratio.
It's insane how few people can actually qualify, and I think that opens up some more doors. That opens up some ideals as to why our rental market is still so strong.
That's true. Yeah.
Why our rents? I mean, if you look at them, they consistently increase year to year. Our rental market has never really seen a dive. You know, we've always been either very consistent or always pushing on the upwards scale. So the other aspect of that is why is it that there's such a demand for owner financing? Well, there you go.
Yeah, because
You can't qualify.
this
You
article
48%
is
renters.
talking specifically about traditional mortgages. So this isn't any of the outside the box stuff like owner financing or taking over somebody's payments, things like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why do those things exist? It's because only 6.8% of renters can actually qualify for a traditional mortgage.
Yeah, that's surprising.
So then, like, if someone has money but no credit,
Right.
or you know, maybe the other way around, they have to look into some of the other outside the box ways to become homeowners. You know?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because it says on here that in the people that were surveyed, so they surveyed 6,000 of the users, and that's how they came up with this information. And it says that in Houston, out of the 100%, 94.5% said that they want to be homeowners.
Where's the source of the article?
It's a website called Zumper, which it's kind of like a Zillow, but for renters.
Yeah, I got this information from a place called Houston Culture Map.
Yeah, that's who wrote up the
And,
article, and the data comes from Zumper.
And Zillow participated in the latest rental analysis, which is where they got this other information from. So this is, I mean, there's some trusted sources here.
Right.
This isn't just some made up, you know, story that someone someone created. I thought it was interesting that Dallas, which I've always felt is a little bit stronger market than ours.
I agree.
Came in fourth worst city.
Yeah, so they're not too far from us.
Not too far.
Yeah,
from us at all.
8.2%.
Yeah, we're at 6.8. They're at 8.2.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's not a very big gap.
According to this article, their median is 189. So I mean that's pretty accurate. Their real estate just a little bit more expensive than ours. But to think that they only have an 8.2% conversion rate, that's pretty low as well.
Well, and what's amazing is that Austin, which everyone talks about how amazing Austin is, they still came in barely 15th on list, and they are at 13%.
That's not bad.
So it's a lot better. I mean, it's double what we've got here.
Double what we have here.
Right.
But still, it's pretty low.
That means you can be a real estate agent in Austin and possibly convert some tenants into homeowners.
1 out of every 10.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Whereas
And I'm sure that-
here, you're going to be struggling if that's your only source of business.
And I'm sure that includes college students as well, because they are renters. And,
That's true.
I mean, so many college students, they just don't have the income yet because they're working at a bar. They're, and not to be a conspiracist, but this leads credence to the Texas secession movement, because you look at the federal government and all their TRID rules and Dodd-Frank and prohibitions against owner financing. I mean, this goes against it, because the alternative ways of mortgage may be the only way somebody may ever own a home.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. And we run into that a lot on an everyday basis. Anyway, we got to take a quick break, guys. But when we get back, we have some legal questions for you, Ashley. One that I think is going to blow your socks off, because we are seeing someone get foreclosed on who shouldn't be.
Uh-oh.
And so we're going to talk about that when we get back. Stay tuned.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com. Stop searching and start staying in the know with our Houston Real Estate Events page on Facebook. Follow us by searching at Houston Real Estate Events to stay up to date on the latest events for real estate in the Houston area. If you are interested in having your event on our page, please email me at david@whitepickettrealty.com. Again, that's david@whitepickettrealty.com. Non-paid events only. One more time, find us on Facebook at Houston Real Estate Events, and we'll see y'all at the next one. Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express, who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus, and we want to jump into a legal topic now that we have Ashley here on the show. And what we want to look at is subject to a subject to transaction. It's gone pretty much horribly wrong. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and we want to discuss what are the rights of, well, basically everyone involved in a transaction.
Let me preface this by saying that we talk about how awesome subject to investing is. We teach a class on this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
We partner with people with large companies like Quest, IRA, who will even teach you how to do it with your IRA and make incredible returns by doing this type of investment. So we always talk about how great this is, but we don't get a chance to talk about the ugly end of this.
Yeah.
And the ugly end of this is when you deal with people who aren't honest about things and don't do the right thing. The right thing here is that if you're going to take over someone's payments, you are responsible for them.
Yes.
And you have to make those payments.
Yeah.
Right? And when you don't make those payments and you've gone out of your way to maybe bring in an end buyer, maybe I think in this case, someone took over the property subject to, sold it to someone else.
Yeah, so the scenario here is there's an investor
Right.
who takes over somebody's payments and then rents out the property. After a year, they decide, okay, we're going to owner finance this thing. And they owner finance it. The end buyer, at the very end, has been making their payments on time every single month. But
To the investor.
To the investor.
Correct.
But the investor has failed to make a payment for 2 years. So they've been collecting mortgage payments, but not making any payments at all to Wells Fargo for 2 years. So you're in a situation now where the end buyer is sitting at home and they receive a notice of foreclosure.
Yeah.
They're like, wait a minute, I've made all of my payments
Yeah.
for the last 2 years. I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, no, this is the investor being foreclosed, and subsequently you're going to be foreclosed on because they're losing the property and we have a legal lien to it.
So how does that work, Ashley? So these people own the house. They have the title in their name. It's been wrapped to them.
Right.
So it has to be on a mortgage wrap transaction, I'm assuming.
Correct, yes.
And then for those of you guys that are out there and maybe don't understand what we're saying, I know that a lot of what we're going to talk about right now is probably alien language to some of you. It's okay. Let me help you understand how this works. So the investor buys this house, right? And they assume the original owner's payments. That's the original mortgage. When we talk about a wrap mortgage, it means they have resold the house to another person, a third party. That's what we call the end buyer, and create a second mortgage that is wrapped around the first mortgage. So
Correct.
the second mortgage is there between the end buyer and the investor. The first mortgage is there between the investor and the original owner.
Correct, yeah. So the original owner had a mortgage with Wells Fargo.
Correct.
And that's what the investor took over that mortgage with Wells Fargo.
So the payments have been, the end buyer's payments have been going to the investor, but the investor has not made the payments to Wells Fargo.
For 2 years.
For 2 years. So now Wells Fargo's ticked off. They're like, hey, man, where's my money?
Yeah.
You know? And they're going to take the house, which they have the legal right to do.
Right, right. I mean, basically, whenever a mortgage is made on a property, the property is used as security.
Yeah.
Now, the original borrower, the investor, original borrower is responsible for that note. So if an investor comes in and does a subject to, the investor's got to make payments to that note if the original borrower does not. So if the mortgage payments are being made, I mean, we're not talking about, for the sake of this conversation, we're going outside the due on sale clause, and we won't even bring on that. But if the mortgages aren't being made, Wells Fargo and the lender or any bank is going to foreclose on a property. Mm-hmm. Now, if in this case an investor buys the property subject to, and it turns around, rents it out, and flips it to another person, does owner financing while the rent's there may be rent being paid. The investor may be paying original amounts if there's a second lien created to the owner, maybe making those payments. But if money doesn't go to Wells Fargo, the end buyer is pretty much stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I tell people, when you do these, subject twos are a great investment tool, but they're like purchasing options and, buying options in the commodity market.
Yeah.
They're very risky. I mean, you can make a lot of money. You can collateralize them. You can see a lot of money. You can tie up a lot of property with a lot of, with very little personal wealth down. But you have to know how to do them, how to treat them. They're a more sophisticated product.
Absolutely right.
So I want to look at both sides of the.
Okay.
So I want to look at the original not the original owner, the investor, and see what liabilities are they facing now. And I also want to look at the end buyer and see what rights do they have. What can they do as recourse to try to fix the situation? So one of the things I heard was, well, why not have the end buyer call Wells Fargo and say, hey, I've been making the payments. This is where my note is, and see if they can work out something with Wells Fargo.
That's the biggest problem in this game, is the end buyer won't be able to talk to Wells Fargo.
That's right.
Because the original buyer in Wells Fargo has the contract. The investor who bought it subject to, he's got no liability.
Yeah.
The investor skates free because The investor, it's not the investor's loan. Investor stepped in, bought it subject to, and flipped it to somebody else. So the investor either A, made a cash payment up front, or B, is making a clip every month.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing on line for investors. So investor can do it. They may end up with their car tire slashed one day, but but the investor, really, there's no liability because he just stepped in and stepped out and flipped it to somebody.
Yeah.
And then now the end buyer, of course, their liability is every dollar they paid and they lost the house.
Yeah.
Now the original buyer, destruction of their credit, and of course, a foreclosure on their credit, and they're possibly looking at a deficiency judgment because if there hasn't been a payment made in 2 years,
no,
they're going to be sued, and they can't say this is my homestead to avoid the phantom gain.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah. So because they sold it, not technically because they sold it, they no longer have that argument.
So the original buyer, let's say they get a deficiency judgment, they could potentially sue the investor because of that. They
could sue the investor, but a smart investor is investment proof because they're operating on a company that basically is just, if they get in a serious lawsuit, they're just bankrupt the company.
Yeah.
And so it's any smart investor would know not to do business in their own name and set up a company just for that, to where if in case they need to make the company go belly up, they will.
Yeah. Now, what about the end buyer? What rights do they have? What strategies should they take to try to fix the situation, or do they even have a lot of angles?
Unfortunately, the end buyer is not completely at fault.
Yeah.
Because you can't go in a subject to transaction with your eyes blind.
That's true.
Obviously they probably didn't close a title company, because I don't know many title companies. We won't close a subject to.
Yeah.
So in other words, if it's a subject to and then flipped to another subject to, we won't close those. The reason why is because there's no way to get a contract between the original buyer and the end buyer because of the investor being in existence there. So there's no direct link. And so what happens is, if there is the original buyer and the end buyer, then they can enter a contract between themselves saying that, hey, you agree not to change your password, and the end buyer has got an obligation, a duty to basically, if they're making all the payments to the original buyer, to make sure the payments are being made to the mortgage company.
Yeah.
Now, if that doesn't happen,
which it didn't. It closed it with an attorney, and they just signed the wrap promissory note and got the deed of trust and got their deed.
Wouldn't there be like a breach of contract case there?
Well, there would be a breach of contract case, but in Texas you can sue for anything. It's whether you have a valid cause of action is a whole other thing, because, yes, they're going to sue the investor, and there will be a breach of contract, but collecting a judgment is different than collecting a payment.
True.
Because Texas, possession is 9% of law, and, chasing an individual down for a judgment is hard. You can't garnish their wages, you can't garnish their pension, their 401k, you can't take their homestead, you can't take their furnishings, you can't take their equipment, their four-wheeler, their horses. There's a whole litigity of stuff that you can't take.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is, if you do a subject to, make sure that if you're the end buyer, the payments are being made. If you're the seller and you want to keep your credit, the payments are being made.
So we had to give some advice to that end buyer, because they're going to auction next Tuesday, or no, 2 Tuesdays from now, basically. What advice would you give them?
How's their credit, and can they finance for a loan?
Okay, so get a brand new loan.
Get a brand new loan and pay it off. Basically go through the process, because I hate to say don't chase good money after bad, but if they can qualify and they can get the mortgage, the only thing I could really advise them to do is to make sure to buy the property in their own right, because they're probably not, unless they have some type of power of attorney from the original buyer or authorization from the original buyer, Wells Fargo is probably not going to speak with them.
Yeah. Wow, that's
probably
really
speaking
difficult.
to the original buyer would be helpful. I had a very similar scenario not too long ago. I don't know if you remember this. It was one of my original subject twos that I bought, and I bought it from another investor.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I do remember.
And it got really, really ugly because the original investor didn't disclose to me that he was marking that mortgage payment up.
Oh, wow.
So I got angry, because I had been paying him a couple $100 a month without him disclosing it. So I ended up having to go through the process of suing, And after he got a demand letter and started seeing that I was serious, then he finally said, okay, forget about it. Just pay me off. And I said, nope, I'm not paying you a dime. You're just going to hand over all of the account passwords and everything, and I'm just going to continue making the payments. And you're going to sign this deed that says I'm in full control. Anyway, I got lucky on that. But what I ended up doing was contacting the original owner and saying, hey, this is happening because of this jerk. And he hasn't made the payments. Now I'm going to lose this house, and we're going to have some issues here unless you and I can work together. Yeah. And it worked out. I talked to the original owner, and I got the passwords and this and that, and I went in there and figured out what payments were being made, what was happening, where they were going. And I was able to finally resolve things, and I got them to agree to let me take control of the account in writing, send it to the mortgage company, and was able to negotiate with them and make things work. Yeah. That's something they could potentially do. If they really wanted to try to salvage this, they could find out what the reinstatement fee is. Yeah. And say, hey, maybe you can tack it on to the end of the mortgage, but I'm going to make payments to you directly. This is what happened. I'm going to have to sue this guy. He was supposed to make the payments to you. He didn't. But from now on, I will catch up. I just need you to help me out.
So it's almost a better angle to go and try to find the original owner and say, hey, are you even aware that this is being foreclosed on?
That would probably be a better, because it's always better not to resort to, actually, well, it's probably 2 weeks before the foreclosure or a week before the foreclosure.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
They're
or
probably
week
not
and
going
a
to
half.
qualify finance anyway, so it's probably not realistic. So the original buyer may be the only way.
It may be the only way for them to call and try to talk to the original buyer and negotiate something. If the original buyer wants nothing to do with the problem, they need to have something in writing that gives them permission to speak on their behalf with the mortgage company.
Right. With Wells Fargo.
With Wells Fargo.
Yeah. Well, man, that's some really good advice. I know that some of the listeners were really interested in that case. So.
Well, hopefully we can help them out, because I know that the way that this deal came to us was through one of our coaching students, and we want to help the people that he's trying to help. But
absolutely.
Sometimes you run into scenarios where it's very, very difficult, and it takes money to be able to figure out a solution. Sometimes the only way to do this is to pay an attorney to tell you what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately in this case, we have very little time to actually maybe start litigation or find an attorney that maybe take the case on. And unless he can negotiate directly with the mortgage company, he's probably going to lose his house. And that stinks, because he's been making those payments for I don't know how many years now.
Yeah.
And this other guy's been pocketing the money, and now this guy's going to lose the house. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. At the end of the day, and say what you must, but I've run into a couple of these chumps, including the chump that was trying to take the house from me, with somewhat of the same scenario. And these guys never make it. And they always run into a dead end, and life is really, life is tough on them. And I mean, I'm not saying that to console the person that's going through this, because I know it won't, but I can tell you that this guy's only going to get away with it, once or twice before he messes with the wrong person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully we can get this seller some help. I know that we gotta stop now, but if there's any more questions on how we can help your sellers or buyers, make sure that you drop your comments below, YouTube, Facebook. Let us know, or you can tweet us.
Yeah, all of your legal questions. Make sure and tweet us.
Fridays are good for legal questions, because we have Ashley here, and
absolutely.
we can answer those for you. So make sure you let us know what's happening with your business. We want to continue to help you grow, and we'll be right back.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join@teamwpr.com. join@teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David@houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David@houseflippingnetwork.com. Stop searching and start staying in the know with our Houston Real Estate Events page on Facebook. Follow us by searching at Houston Real Estate Events to stay up to date on the latest events for real estate in the Houston area. If you are interested in having your event on our page, please email me at david@whitepickettrealty.com. Again, that's david@whitepickettrealty.com. Non-paid events only. One more time, find us on Facebook at Houston Real Estate Events, and we'll see y'all at the next one. Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus, and we've got Ashley in studio with us today, and he wanted to make an apology for not being here last week.
A public apology?
I think I do need a public apology, so last week I apologized to all listeners. I've already apologized to the gentleman here.
All of our listeners were so upset. We got so many hateful emails because you weren't here.
Where's Ashley?
Yes.
If Ashley's not back, we're not watching anymore. I was like, oh,
you know, and it all leads to bad karma. And bad karma, you know, you get in what you get out and everything like that. And so Tuesday, I had a trial coming up on Tuesday, and I'd never go to court. Never go to court, never have to litigate. Well, I did a friend for a favor. Well, a favor for a friend.
You always say it. No good deed goes unpunished.
There you go. I did a favor for a friend, and a friend's mom got in trouble from an eviction, and so I represented her. So spent all morning in a mediation. You know, couldn't come out with a settlement. So then we had a trial at 3:00. So I get out of the trial, and I have about 5 or 6 missed phone calls from my neighbor. My neighbor tells me my house is on fire. So,
oh, my God.
So that's the bad karma I have, and so these are all brand new school, brand new school shirts.
He thinks his house burned down because he didn't show up to Realty Ruckus. I love it.
That's what you get for not showing.
Yes, bad karma right there. So anyway, listeners, I apologize.
Well, we're glad to have you in, man. Even though I know you've had a really tough week, it's cool to have you here. You mentioned that your friend got in trouble for an eviction, and I imagine that happens a whole lot in our business. And I see it all the time. You know, with clients that come to us and they want us to help them. We don't do any property management, but we did, you know, originally, and we got really fed up with it really quick and stopped it as soon as we could. And a lot of it had to do with homeowners who were renting their houses and had absolutely no clue what the legal process of an eviction was, and they were doing them wrong. And
we had people just locking people out of their houses.
Yes. Do not do that. There is a process, right?
Yeah.
The process is you send a demand, you post it on the door. They have 3 days to respond. Usually you do something like basically a big notice that says notice of payment or quit.
Yeah.
And it can be something like that. You strap it on the door, and that's all the notice you have to get.
Yeah.
Now, since most of our listeners are homeowners or investors, I will say that in Tuesday's trial, I witnessed about 12 or 13 cases go before me. All 12 or 13 cases went against the renter.
Okay.
I mean, so Texas, although the laws are kind of pro-renter.
Yeah, I would say they side on the side of the renter.
No, they side on the side of the landlord. Landlord is the duty to pay rent supersedes everything else. And if you don't pay rent, you know, you're going to be, and for damages, like for instance, my client, basically, they went 18 months into a 19-month lease. No late pays or anything like that. And then a 19th month, they thought that they already paid the rent. And so, but the point is they didn't pay the rent. And so they didn't pay the rent. And so after 7 days, they were evicted. Mm-hmm. And, you know, of course, when you're given 3 days to, you know, vacate the premise, you're going to leave it not in a very clean state.
Yeah.
And so that cost him $2,700. Mm. And you know, there's several arguments I made, such as, hey, they didn't account for security deposit. We got that, you know, waived from, because originally my client was being sued for like $4,600. Mm-hmm. And I got a verdict of $2,700 against her.
Okay.
So it was a mixed verdict, but it could have been worse, but it could have been better. But I had enough grounds in order to go there and have the judge throw out everything. But especially since the lease was over February 29th. In this case, they got evicted February 15th. They had it put out in the market. 9 days later, it was leased for a greater price. So my client's rent was $1,300 a month, and it was leased out for $1,350. And so the new lease started on March 3rd. My client's lease ended February 29th. So my argument was, hey, there were no real damages because, I mean, they're renting the place out for more. And all the damages that were done, for instance, they charged my client for both a cleaning bill and for a repair of the carpet bill.
So you're representing the tenant here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And she was just upset that she got kicked out without giving
Proper
her
notice.
proper notice,
Right.
or is that what it was?
Well, she was upset. I mean, it wasn't a wrongful eviction case as it was a damages after the conviction because
Got it.
she was upset because she was arguing about, hey, she's made her payment, and she had an argument that she made her payment because she paid the realtors on the first month.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my client's documentation wasn't there.
Got it.
And, I was walking into a gunfight with a knife, because my clients didn't have documents.
Yeah.
And so I made a good faith argument, and but it's just fortunately for our clients, for the listeners out there, I mean, if you're going to be a landlord, you have more rights than a tenant does.
Yeah.
But
you also have to document everything.
you have to document everything and do
literally
everything right. And when you give your 3-day notice and you post it on a door, you still have to file suit. You still have to go before the JP court. You can't lock the doors. You can't ever lock the doors on somebody because now
I've heard people locking people out. I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've heard. I know that you're allowed to do that on a commercial property if somebody doesn't pay, but on residential you're not allowed to.
Yeah, do not do it. Yeah, commercial is cowboys and Indians. I mean, commercial has its own. It's got its own. I don't think. Can you say cowboys and Indians anymore, or is it racial? Is it?
PC guys. PC.
Not politically correct here, Ashley.
Cowboys and the real founders of America, right?
There you go.
So, so commercial property, you could lock somebody out. There's no problem with commercial. But if it's a residential property, I mean, you're dealing with a whole slew of things you can't do. So go through the steps because the law's in your favor until it's not.
Yeah.
And the way it's not is if you do something that breaks the law, such as locking the doors, preventing something, taking something that's not yours. I mean,
What about removing the doors?
Yeah, so there's an argument that you can remove the doors because that's not explicitly said, and that you cannot do that.
Or removing the
in
windows.
Texas property
I've heard
code.
people.
Yeah.
I've heard people do that. I know it's crazy. I know you guys are probably thinking like, who would do that?
Well, no,
but I've heard
it's
it.
effective. It's effective because
And when you have a crazy tenant in there,
right,
and they don't want to sleep without doors or windows. I'm just saying.
You could say that. I mean, I guess a place like Houston, where it's really hot, you could say that makes it uninhabitable, but it really doesn't become uninhabitable because you have the people in Memorial Park who did the Kush.
Yeah.
I mean, they were. I'm going to have to think about that one because that's not against the contract. And it's a. Might have to give an answer on that next week.
All right, yeah, we'll look into that. We might be coming up with a new way to get rid of people.
I mean, you open it, you remove the doors, you remove the thing, and then, the argument is the property is no longer safe. But guess what happens? They leave.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be a good way to get an unwanted tenant out, so you won't have Pacific Heights type of scenario.
We had a squatter once, and when we said, hey, we're going to go out there and remove the doors, all of a sudden we didn't have a squatter.
See, there you go.
Yeah, I got him out of there pretty
And
quick.
we didn't actually have to remove it. We just said, hey, we're going out there, in the next day or so, and we're going to be removing the doors and windows.
Wow.
So I'm glad we didn't get a chance to actually do it, but
Right.
just talking about it actually helped.
So I do have a question. We've been talking a lot about tenants and then also about foreclosure. And I started thinking, I used to go door knocking a lot. And a lot of the times when you knock on a door, the person who opens the door is not the owner. It's actually a tenant who's living in the property.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they're not even, sometimes they are and sometimes they're not aware that the house is being foreclosed on. And they always ask, so should I continue to pay my rent to the landlord if they're being foreclosed on? What's the legal? I mean, I wouldn't give them the legal advice, but
Well, it's
What-
this is something that I could talk personally on because I've been personally, this has been my personal situation for a while because I've been living in a house that, 10 times the house got notice of foreclosures. 10 times.
Yeah.
9 times I kept on calling my landlord and says, hey, are you paying your mortgage? What the hell's going on here? And the 10th time I didn't do that. So a week later, I get a notice of eviction from the bank.
Yeah.
Now,
from the bank or from the
From
owner?
the bank. The bank actually foreclosed on the guy.
Okay.
And so they filed an eviction. Now, under the Obama's law, and I'll just say it, Obama's law, under the Homeowners Assistance Act or whatever it was that was passed during 2007, 2008 to address all the foreclosures, they basically said if there's a bona fide lease, unless the person who's buying the property is going to move there as a homestead, which in that case they have to give a tenant 90 days, they have to honor a bona fide lease.
Yeah.
So I sent to the bank a copy of my lease and a copy of my mortgage payments, which were accurate, which were being made every month.
Yeah.
In that situation, they had to honor my lease. Well, in the meantime, I had to make my payments to registry court because both the bank and the original landlord were requesting payments.
Yeah.
So, getting around to your question, kind of a roundabout way. So what happens is basically when your landlord gets foreclosed on, he still wants his payments. Mm-hmm. I mean, it didn't matter. The fact is that he hadn't made a mortgage payment since October 2011.
Wow.
So, I mean, the guy was making a fortune off my mortgage. And and so, long story short, when the bank foreclosed, the bank wants payments, this guy wanted payments. And so, in the meantime, instead of having to drop my payment off the second floor of my building where our office out of, I now had to mail my money, certified funds, to registry court every month.
Okay.
And so I was making those payments every month. And then, of course, the original landowner said, hey, you're not making your payments. Well, the registry court would take forever to post anything, so I wasn't a party to the lawsuit. So the same situation happened to where he tried to foreclose on me.
Yeah.
And
or evict you.
He tried to evict me.
Yeah.
Thank you. He tried to evict me. And so I went to the court and I had to argue a motion and basically state that, I'm making, I owe somebody money, but I don't know who. Now, this guy obviously doesn't own the property anymore, so he couldn't foreclose, not to mention that he had since sued the mortgage company, so now the JP case had no jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And so, had no jurisdiction, and so, him and I got into it, and I said, pretty much that I was going to make another payment, and imagine one day I'll probably get in trouble for that, but in the meantime, the house burned down. So it's been crazy. So
a good ride over there.
Yeah.
Long story short, I guess if your property is being foreclosed on and you're a tenant, you have to figure out when it's being foreclosed on, and if the
and
homeowner
who to make the payments
and who to make the payments to. But if the homeowner no longer owns it, you're gonna have to find a way to make the payments, probably directly to the mortgage company,
right?
Or escrow them with the court.
How do you do that? How do you escrow funds with the court registry? How does that work?
Well, basically, you get the cause number and you just make a payment to the county clerk.
Okay.
And so generally what happens is that both parties will enter what's known as a Rule 11 agreement, which is an agreement between the parties that becomes the law between the case.
Okay.
And they'll enter a Rule 11 agreement where, hey, all rent payments are hereby, to be paid to registry court. And that way it protects the tenant to where neither party, whoever wins the case, can't turn around and evict them.
I do think that if the tenant decides to not pay his rent, and then the mortgage company decides to evict them and they have no proof that they've been paying, then they have a case to actually be evicted.
That's exactly right. But again, that's it's a delicate line.
Yeah.
Because, I chose to tightrope it because obviously I got into it with the original homeowner. So,
yeah, but you also understand the law a
Right.
whole lot more than most tenants.
Right, exactly. I wouldn't advise this for another tenant to do it because it's stressful. I mean, I had to go, and plus you have to hire somebody to go to the court and represent
Oh, that's
you.
right. You have to be represented.
Right, and so obviously me being an attorney, I did it myself, and it cost me nothing.
Yeah.
So I probably would have charged somebody else $5,000, $10,000 to do what I did.
So at that point, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if
Right.
you're gonna pay $5 to $10,000 to an attorney, then
Just pay your
may as well
mortgage.
pay your
rent.
There you go. There you go. Short answer to a long question there. So anyway, guys, we're going to be right back. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we got to tell you guys a little bit about some events that we have coming up, some really, really awesome stuff that we have upcoming for realtors, loan officers, for investors. We have your event coming up, which is going to be a phenomenal time. You know, the bowling.
The
thing.
bowling,
You're looking
yeah.
at me like, what event?
Yeah.
The bowling.
I took
This thing.
29th, I believe. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be right back. We'll tell you more
26th.
about that. Stay tuned.
Hey realtors, I have a challenge for you. Walk into your broker's office and ask him to show you how to do a net listing, a wholesale investment transaction, or a subject to. I'm Alan Hernandez, broker of White Picket Realty, and my team and I have been doing these type of transactions for years. We can show you how to do the same and turn small deals into big checks. If you're interested in learning more, please contact join at teamwpr.com. JOIN at teamwpr.com.
Hey Houston investors, do you have a couple deals under your belt, but now you're looking to scale in a more structured way? If so, then the House Flipping Network provides guidance to those looking to grow their real estate business. It's also a great way to mastermind with our experts and groups of like-minded investors just like yourself. If you're interested in more information, reach out to me, David at houseflippingnetwork.com. That's David at houseflippingnetwork.com. Stop searching and start staying in the know with our Houston Real Estate Events page on Facebook. Follow us by searching at Houston Real Estate Events to stay up to date on the latest events for real estate in the Houston area. If you are interested in having your event on our page, please email me at david@whitepicketrealty.com. Again, that's david@whitepicketrealty.com. Non-paid events only. One more time, find us on Facebook at Houston Real Estate Events, and we'll see y'all at the next one. Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
And we are back on the Realty Ruckus. We've had Ashley Patten in here live in studio, our resident attorney, and he's been giving us some really good advice when it comes to subject twos, foreclosures, evictions, and whether you should pay your rent or not.
Or not pay your rent.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very true. Hey, I know you mentioned that you're the house that you were living in that you were renting. I know you just bought a house and you're moving somewhere else, but you mentioned that it burned down and your renter's insurance lapsed.
Right.
I mean, I hate to kind of bring this up, but I know that people out there don't really understand what happens when that happens.
Well, basically, what I'm having to do is I'm having to make a claim on my homeowner's policy, stating that basically the off-premises coverage, like every insurance policy covers off-premises coverage.
So your home insurance policy on the new house that you bought,
right, will cover contents of my old house.
Okay.
And so that is what I have been dealing with, because obviously it's just everything I have pretty much got burnt up, and and this is a.
I know you told me you got new school clothes today.
New school clothes and new shoes, and still breaking them in,
Nice.
So the good thing is the fireman saved my cat, so it's
there you go.
JC was fine. So
so firemen do save cats. Look at
they
that,
do,
man.
they do. I mean, her tail was singed, and she's tormenting, but it's just it was a bad situation. But whenever you have, and it would have been so much easier had I not let my homeowner's insurance policy lapse.
You mean your renter's insurance?
My renter's insurance policy lapse. Because then it would have just been a quick claim or a renter's policy, where now I'm having to determine whether it's under the 10% exception, which is I had $270,000 worth of claims contents. So is it the 10% exception, or I can get the whole thing? So
what is a 10% exception? What does that mean?
Basically, you have a 10% exception where your insurance policy will include certain things where they will only limit up to 10% of the basis. So if things are used, for instance, primary trade, or if it's used in a lease house where it's common grounds, there's certain exclusions in a policy. Like, you want to read your policy and see exactly what it does cover and what it doesn't cover. Yeah. And obviously, when you make your claim, you want to have already read that, so you know how your claim
should read.
So it's for instance, my claim, it's just basically the fact is that I bought a homestead. I was in the process of moving to a homestead, which is obviously you want to make sure that's exactly what's happening because you don't want to be liable or guilty for insurance fraud because, you don't want to spend the next 3 years, with handcuffs behind your back.
Yeah.
So it's just make sure that you don't do anything false. But the same token is know what the insurance policy covers, what it doesn't cover.
But if your renter's insurance hadn't lapsed, it's a quick claim. They ask you for a list of all the items that you're claiming. Right. And then they're probably going to ask you for receipts or.
You take pictures of everything. They probably will ask for receipts, but if you don't have receipts.
Can't you just say they burned down
with
the house?
That's typically what happens.
That's
why most people don't have receipts. Yeah. And so, you want to find out if your policy is replacement value or fair market value. Yeah. Now, obviously, replacement value is going to be a much more expensive, policy rather. And, you probably have fair market value, which case if you say, I have a 55-inch TV set, and the 55-inch TV set doesn't have 4K, doesn't have everything like that, fair market values be very low. But it doesn't take a lot to maximize your policy. So most people have a renter's coverage of $15,000, $20,000. And I mean, you get a laptop, you get a computer, TVs.
It adds up real quick.
It adds up really quick, right? Yeah. And so for the most part, take pictures of everything. And anybody who doesn't have pictures of their contents right now,
that's
take a
probably
few
a good
minutes
thing
this
to
weekend.
do.
Now, how about the liability for the fire itself? Because I know that when we used to manage, we had a house catch on fire, and the original homeowner policy went back to the renter and said, we're going to hold you liable because you didn't have renter's insurance.
Well, the renter's insurance only protects the contents. It doesn't protect the house. And so, like in our case, I feel bad for my next door neighbor because the original owner doesn't own the property anymore, and now the bank does. The question is does the bank have insurance or not? And I don't know the answer to that. So, and there is literally the house I was living in, it's convertible now. Yeah. I mean, you can literally stand up in the top floor and look up and see the sun.
He says convertible. What does that mean?
I mean, I got a sunroof. Awesome. Or is it open roof?
It was one of those townhouses, tall townhouses. Yeah. So were you really, really close to the neighbor as well?
Yeah, I was four-story townhouse, and I have an elevator shaft, and it was pardon my French, it was the damnedest thing in the world because literally after the fire, you could look in the elevator and see 40 feet down because the elevator was all burned up.
Wow.
And so, when the fire people came, they took one of my big mirrors. I have a 6-foot mirror. Well, what's left of the mirror. They put it in front of the door for the elevator that was burnt up. So literally, without that there, one of the firemen could have, in fact, the arson investigator was looked down there and was like, he jumped back and he almost screamed like a little girl because he's like, whoa, there's an elevator shaft there. How do you know there's an elevator?
Big drop.
Because all the soot and all the stuff, and, and the roof had caved into the bottom, what was left of it. So,
that's rough.
Well, maybe we should look into who owns that now because we could remodel that thing.
Yeah, no joke, right?
Buy it off the bank and
you said it's owned by the bank now, right?
Well, remember,
make an offer.
Yeah, I mean, make an offer because remember. I mean, the reason why I didn't buy it is because the guy hadn't made a payment since October 2011. So he was upside down. I mean, the property is probably worth about between $950,000 to $1 million, and he probably owes about 1.2 on it.
Oh wow, he was really upside down on it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, don't quote me on the numbers, but it was crazy.
Well, hey, I know we're running out of time, and I want to talk a little bit about all of the events we have coming up because we really do have some awesome stuff happening towards the end of this year. You guys realize we're over the hump and we're pushing towards the end of the year now.
Holiday season is upon us.
Holiday season is upon us. You know that real estate starts shutting down. Realtors.
I mean, it's only a matter of time before you have Christmas decorations.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Drinking season. Everybody starts drinking towards the end of the year. Is that true?
It is true.
Everybody gets fat in December. We all know that happens. But before that, we pile in a bunch of really good events. It seems like that's the way the industry works.
Yeah, towards the end of the year, there's some great events.
So we have some really, really awesome ones that we want to discuss. We want to keep you guys updated on these because if you're watching, we want you guys to join us. Most of these events are free or cost very, very little, and they're all about making sure that your business keeps growing and that you're networking with the right people. So what do you have for us?
Yeah,
and I'll tell you a little bit of some of the ones that I remember.
Yeah, so coming up, we have the Capital Concepts event on Tuesday, August 30th, and I know Patten Law Firm also hosts that as well. And that's going to be at LaGrange from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. So we're always looking forward to that one.
That's next.
This coming Tuesday.
Okay, this coming Tuesday.
To finish off August. And then in September, one of the classes that we're hosting with Richard Smith is we're going to be teaching people how to vet, hire, and efficiently use a virtual assistant. So I know a lot of people are interested in that. We'll be sending out an email blast.
I think that every realtor and every investor in town would want to come to that class. Because if you do not have an assistant on your team, whether it's a virtual assistant or a real live assistant or a Brandon like I have, you have no clue how hard your life is until you have an assistant. I sent Brandon to go wash my car yesterday.
I was wondering why it looked so clean. Right? We went deep sea fishing.
He hated it until he drove back in it. And I was like, "Did you rip it up a little bit?" He's like, "Yeah." Yeah, man. It's fun. You got to have fun, but you have to have someone help you with the everyday stuff. Otherwise, you go crazy. What else do we have?
Well, just rounding out, going into October, we're all looking forward to it. Is the Patten Law Firm? What is the title of it? Is it just a bowling night?
Something.
It's our second annual Roll Bowl.
Something bowling. I don't know, but White Picket's getting a trophy this year.
It's a costume contest.
We're dressing up as. What are we dressing up as? Tyrion Lannister.
Game of Thrones characters.
Oh, really? We're all going to be Game of Thrones characters. We're going to go there and we're going to win. We're going to win this year.
Hey, who's the midget?
He's already volunteered himself. I was Tyrion last year. He makes a great Tyrion.
I don't mind being Tyrion again. I'll do it happily.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Realty Ruckus. It has been a blast to have you guys. Don't forget that we'll be around next Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're going to be talking more about your real estate investing, more about listing and selling houses. We'll have Ashley again on the Friday show. We're excited. We want to keep growing our businesses with you. Make sure you keep us on your schedule, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you all.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one.
This has been the Realty Ruckus. Make sure and join us every Tuesday and Friday for new episodes. Find us on YouTube and Facebook for replays of previous episodes. And as always, keep elevating yourself and keep up your ruckus. Thanks for listening. Realty Ruckus has been brought to you by Smart Pig Media Productions.